Chris. How are we doing today?
I hate QVC.
What?
I hate QVC. Little known fact. I hate it. After this last episode, it has torn my life inside out.
Okie dokie. Well, that's not usually what I get from you to start these podcasts, but let's make it a known fact. Chris hates QVC. And if you watched last night, I also hate QVC. It wrecked my world. QVC is the reason I don't have $250,000 right now, and I will never buy anything from QVC for the rest of my life.
Don't.
Because QVC took money from me. What could have been mine is not now.
Aaron's drawn the line, and QVC has become his arch nemesis.
Never again. When Grandma turns it on at home, when I'm back there for Christmas,
PTSD.
I'm taking the remote and throwing it through the TV. Mom, you
Oh.
don't need those fucking pans. This is crap.
Man. Well,
Welcome to week 8. This is the
So,
QVC challenge.
this is the QVC challenge.
We're tasked with creating a 20-minute live bit, picking a multitude of products, and having to explain exactly why people should buy these on TV. And
Let's start from the very beginning. I know you're angry. I'm stressed out of my mind
I'm
off of
angry
this
at
challenge.
you.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to take this opportunity to apologize to you and apologize to Tony. I'm sorry.
We were supposed to be the boys, man.
I know. I'm sorry. I guess I technically got you eliminated.
You did. Fuck you.
But this is like the Royal Rumble, all right? Every man for themselves. And I just tossed Tony and Aaron, both my friends and tag team partners throughout all the challenges.
Just because you fantasize the
Boom.
WWE does not mean you're the Royal Rumble champion.
No, but if this was the Royal Rumble, I just eliminated 2 of my buddies.
Okay.
That sucked. That sucked. But let's start from the beginning. That sucked. It sucked for you because you're gone. That sucked for me because 2 of my buddies, I essentially just got 2 of my buddies
You
eliminated.
Are quite literally the last man standing after that one.
I am the last man standing. But let's start from the beginning here, right? We get to QVC. We get broken up into teams. It's boys versus girls, essentially.
It's exactly what it was. There's no synergy
And
about it.
Going into the last couple weeks and seeing all the drama between Ashley, Lan, and Caroline, we're looking at ourselves because we've never had drama within each other.
Right.
And we're going, we got this in the bag. And so I thought we had it in the bag. I think you and Tony also thought that this was going to be smooth sailing because we were just going to watch the girls burn in flames. And I think we might have been a little too confident. I think we
That's
might have been a
exactly
little
what
too
happened.
cocky.
And I don't even know if it was like cocky. It was just more or less the fact that last week after the Seattle challenge, we came to the conclusion that if you weren't on that team would have burned. And so they put that theory to the test, and they put those 3 girls on the same team this week, and they did not burn. They worked rather cohesively together, and it's fucking disappointing. To an extent, I was genuinely shocked at how well they pulled that off together.
Shit, man. Someone burned some incense and incense. Incest the incense? I don't know.
What kind of Arkansas shit's going on?
Somebody burned some of that nice smelling stuff that comes on a stick. They prayed to some deity and they came together and they pulled it off. And I don't know how they pulled it off because in the previous weeks, they were at each other's throats.
I got to applaud those 3 girls because I did not see the outcome that came from this. And overall, man, that was a hell of a challenge. I think when I look at what we were tasked with doing, we get there, like you said, we're overly confident going into it. And I think we just realized that we would work well together. And I think that ended up being our downfall because where typically teams work well together, there was no internal conflict. We didn't really question each other. And I think when you question each other, that's where you come up with solutions and better resolutions to a task. So I think if we were to not be so comfortable with one another and really question each other's intentions to make sure we truly had it, I think we would have had a different outcome.
I think that's a very good point, because I think looking back and watching the episode last night, why didn't anybody stop me putting all that crap in the blender? I eat some really disgusting things, especially in smoothies, and I just drink them for the functionality or for the health benefits. I'm not thinking about the taste aspect of it. But somebody should have stopped me.
Looking at that on TV last night.
It's disgusting.
Oh, my God. And who just puts random fucking vegetables in a blender together and is like, oh, this is going to be good? You're an animal.
That was just really dumb, because I'm going, yeah, this would be great. It would be a funny little thing. But the funny aspect of it and the shit that I would eat is not what the general public would eat, and it's not what the general public wants to see in a product that they're going to buy.
I kind of recall episode 4 from that exact instance. You would eat that smoothie just like when we served Mr. Beast a burnt grilled cheese. I would have ate that grilled cheese, but it's not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to TV and this being a TV show, you have to have like really good looking food, because people don't get to try this food. They eat it with their eyes.
It's true.
And
yeah.
that's like the biggest selling point that I've learned personally just through the Snow Cone stand and Cool Cats and Snow Cone King is people eat the shit with their eyes. The better looking it is, the better their overall experience. So if you're trying to sell something, it has to look good. I can't make shitty snow cones and then expect someone to want to buy my snow cones.
Exactly. And I can't make shitty smart cups and expect people to, buy smart cups based off of a shitty visual. And I think that was one of our downfalls in this challenge, was that we took it for granted, and it was more of a boys hangout than we took it as a serious challenge.
Right.
Where any one of us could have gone home, and in this instance, 2 of you guys went home.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah. But
no, going into this, we're the bros, we're hanging out, we're like, and Gordon tells me at one point when he comes in with Alberti, who is the QVC specialist, big guy on QVC, like the face, he knows this shit, and he comes in to check up on us. We're going through our products, giving a demonstration, and we're just like smiling, laughing, chopping it up, and Gordon's like, you got to be serious. That was like a common thing he told me, Aaron, you got to be serious, quit laughing. And I really should have listened to him that time.
Yeah.
I really should have, because I put myself in a position, and I think Tony put himself in a position that neither one of us were ready for. You did well. You made it out of the challenge. But going into it, let's talk about our game plan.
Yeah.
We sat there. We had all these items.
Well, I made it out, but barely. Barely. It probably the worst performance I've had thus far in this challenge.
I would have to agree.
Worst performance. We completely, I think, collectively took it for granted, and took for granted how much we enjoyed each other's company, I guess, and how much the girls were going to just eat at each other. And so we probably should have taken it a little bit more seriously, given the stakes. I mean, in the last podcast we were talking about, we could see the light at the end of the tunnel. Right. And here we are. It's a gimme on this one. And we shit the bed. We shit the bed
so bad.
Yeah.
Worse than Luther in the ghost kitchen.
Yeah.
That was a terrible outing. But I feel like going into it, we had a good game plan. With our products, we came up with the concept. Tony has been wanting to be the face of many of these challenges. And I feel like every time Tony's got pushed down and not been able to be the shining star.
Yes.
And for whatever reasons. But this time, I was like, all right, Tony, you can be the face. When in reality, I think I would have been better on camera than Tony was. But I also felt like I could probably do better in the booth. And so, because I have experience to an extent of like knowing camera angles and knowing how to edit things and directing,
stuff. Yeah.
At face value, Tony's a chef, and I have a little bit of experience in like the entertainment media world. So I was letting it roll.
Owen, keep it down over there, would you?
Yeah, I don't know.
Shit, we're trying to do a podcast over here. Owen's over there fucking, I think he's
watching QVC.
I think
Turn that
that's
shit
what
off.
he's doing.
I said none of that.
You're trying to incite his PTSD over here. No QVC. Damn.
But no, I think that, you know, where the roles were, it was probably the best bet for us. You're obviously the TV guy, or like a face, as you've been throughout.
And I just want to say, it is such a burden. Every challenge, anytime someone needs to be front and center, I get nominated, right? And I think this time around, because QVC is such a different animal, and all I know of QVC is like Billy Mays and ShamWow and like over the top, like, if you act now, we'll throw this in. And that's how I behaved. And that's not what QVC is. And I think that hurt us too.
Yeah.
I think almost in retrospect, I feel like you and Tony should have been the face, and maybe taking a step back and being in the booth might have helped us.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that we had was honestly good, and I felt confident going into it. We had the idea that, you know, Tony's the professional chef, and so we get him on there, and Chris is the idiot. And so he's like, how does this work? I don't know how to do it. And then Tony's like, this is how you do it, kid. And what actually happened was quite the opposite. It was Tony had no clue what he was doing up there, and Chris looked like the professional in comparison. And so
that speaks volumes of the situation.
I know, like it was mind blowing. And then me in the booth, man, like I thought that I would have a decent idea, but you get back there and you're
what's that like? Yeah,
Dude,
what's that like?
So you're in this dark room in the back, and of course you see a little bit of it, but it's dark and almost despairing and misty and like mysterious. And you're sitting in front of these monitors, and there's probably 15 different camera angles, and they're all rolling at once. And so when you go live, everything's rolling, and you have to direct people where to look. So if I'm turning on the TV to show camera angle 3, then that means you guys have to look at camera angle 3. But I have to be thinking like seconds ahead of you guys.
Yes.
And going into it, we had a plan, but the plan quickly fizzled out because Tony didn't have in his fucking earpiece. And so that made it didn't matter what I communicated or how well I did. Tony couldn't look at the camera because he didn't get the earpiece. And then Gordon's in my ear. Yo, have Chris tell Tony to put his earpiece back in. It's like, how do you do that on a live bit? Like
I know. It's hard. And people, those 20 minutes that we're there are the longest and shortest 20 minutes of your life at the same time.
For all of these challenges, we have hours to prepare and get things straight. This one we had like, you know, a few hours to figure out our products. But when you're live, it is 20 minutes, all intensive, no fucking breaks, no room to breathe. No, like
you're just on.
It's
your go. And you know, I remember going into it. Gordon keeps telling me, "You're yelling. I'm like, fuck, this is the way I speak.
Right.
Like, I don't know how to act any other way. I'm not an actor. I'm a fucking scientist who just so happens to tell jokes every so often. And this is who I am. I don't know how to behave differently. And so I had to tone it back down. Like, minutes before we're going live, Gordon's yelling at me for being too loud. And I just have to adjust myself. That shit went so fast, and it was just go. When we were done, I was drenched in sweat. It's a marathon.
Well, and I'll say from my experience, too, I've never personally, like, really ordered anything from QVC. I don't really order anything online. I am very old-fashioned. I really just don't like to spend my money on anything but, like, snow cone shit in my own business and camera equipment. You ever ordered anything from QVC?
Never once in my life. I can honestly say I have never ordered anything off of QVC. I can honestly say I've never watched QVC.
So then let me ask you, because I'm sure Tony's in the same boat. QVC, I imagine, is typically a female-drawn audience because typically the females are your bigger consumers in markets.
That would be my assumption.
They're the ones, I mean, it's like my mom, my grandma, they're ordering off of QVC.
Yeah.
I almost think this challenge played into the girls' benefit because they probably have more experience on the QVC realm, or at least watched it, or something along those realms.
And when you watch the example that we were given for QVC and how the guy presented, what's his name?
Alberti.
Okay. Alberti presents, he's very poised, very controlled. And I feel like because the girls speak in a more controlled manner, and it comes off as being more poised, even though we know better,
right?
Right. But it's more of a paced speak and presentation that resonates better for a QVC audience, as opposed to this like over the top loud, and it doesn't help us that fucking Tony cuts his finger. His earpiece keeps fucking falling out, and he cuts his finger in the middle of our thing, which causes all sorts of problems for us.
Right.
It sucked.
Right. No, it sucked terribly. But the girls too, they had, their own challenge there at the beginning when rewatching the show. They had the idea that they were going to make one meal across all 5 products. And so they wanted to essentially carry one thing and demonstrate every single product with their one food.
Which was smart because they had a theme that they played
Now, Gordon said specifically that was not a good idea and that they were focusing too much on the meal and not the products themselves. And so watching it, I was like, damn, that's a good point. But the girls executed it very well, and I think that it carried out more, like you say, more poised. It was easier to and again, going back to last week's episode, Lan was killing it in that booth. She did 10 times better than I did. Looking at it, she was ahead of the game a little bit. Of course, everybody had their earpiece in, so that helps a lot. Like, I can't knock that one at all. As much as, no matter how good I can do in the producer booth or how bad I do, it doesn't fucking matter unless people can hear what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I was listening to you, and I'm trying to be entertaining and be that face. And at the same time, I'm trying to cover for Tony, and I'm trying to listen to you. And it was just like, holy shit.
Like sensory overload.
It was the first time that I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm walking off. I can't fucking take this shit right now. I'm leaving my boys high and dry right now. I'm fucking done. I can't do this right now. But given all the circumstances, I think, it's your first time on QVC. But Gordon himself said it. If we were given another opportunity at it, I think we would outperform the girls. What do you think of that?
It's hard to say, but 100%. I know that if I went back in there, I'm a quick learner. I recognize where I went wrong the entire time, and knowing what I know after doing that was literally my first time in a producer booth.
Yep.
First time doing a live, bit of that nature at all, trying to sell products. I 100% think I would have done better. Same speaks for the girls, though. They would have done better as well. And so it's a matter of...
Yeah. And they definitely would have done better, but I guess, do we do substantially better than them to beat them a second time around?
We go in it with a whole different mindset, and I'm going to say yes. Because I'm egotistical, and I think that, yes, I will fucking beat anybody. Because going into that challenge the first day, I thought I was going to kick everybody's ass, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So there's really never a time that I don't think I'm going to fucking win. And I don't know how.
It'd be interesting if the girls, we were going into it, and we were so confident because the girls are having all their issues and all the drama. I'm wondering if the girls in their minds thought, shit, we got to get our shit together, because the guys are cohesive and they get along.
That's a very good point. I mean, I'm sure they were, and I don't even know, man. They surprised me like so much.
They shocked me
because coming out of the challenge too, when we were finished with our bit, the girls were like talking to each other, and I was like, wow, you guys are talking to each other. Like, all of you guys have your eyelashes on. Nobody's missing hair. Like, makeup looks good.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Nobody's crying. When we're in separate teams and we don't get to talk to each other. And then when we get to see each other for the first time after we do our QVC time, and I noticed that Caroline's not crying. The
Shocker.
Makeup's all in place. They're all smiling. And I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
We lost this.
Yeah. And I think that, it's clear in the episode last night. As soon as I walked out of that producer booth, I was like, man, I was not ready for that. That was much more difficult than I think all three of us thought it was going to be.
Yep.
And, I think we were prepared, but I just don't think that we exactly knew what we were doing, to be blunt.
No.
We just didn't know the flow of how things worked. It was evident as we're transitioning. So we had the pool chop. Tony instantly cuts his finger. I don't remember if it was on the pull chop or the knife.
I know it was on the pull chop.
Yeah.
When he so he cuts his finger, and
he's bleeding, trying to wrap it up while also you can't stop. You have to keep going.
And you know what sucked about that? I didn't even notice that he cut himself. I didn't notice the whole time we're doing it. I have no idea because I'm so focused on just talking, and then we're getting the phone calls coming in, and I'm just like. Afterwards, Tony's like, yeah, I cut my finger. I was like, I didn't even fucking notice it. And one thing that people don't realize is that Gordon's in front of us on a whiteboard writing shit.
Yeah, writing stuff oh, be louder. Look at the camera. That's a distraction.
It's one thing when Gordon Ramsay curses at you verbally. It's another thing when Gordon Ramsay writes a curse at you.
Angrily. Yeah, I remember I have the camera so I can see him in my monitor, and he's sitting there on the board he's like that. And you're like, dude, I don't know what's more prominent, your head or the fuck on that board. I don't
Yeah. It's like, fuck. And it's I'm like, oh, man. Hey, so we got a caller.
Yeah. There's so many things happening. And it goes to say not only in the QVC bit, but in this whole TV show in general, what happens behind the scenes of the camera that the lens doesn't catch, there's so much shit going on, literally right behind the camera. So you guys are seeing us, but we're looking at the camera and then a million other things. And it's literally being on stage the entire time.
You said it best. It's sensory overload. I mean, I've done stand-up in large crowds, auditoriums, stadiums. Nothing like that QVC experience. And for me, I took it for granted too. In every challenge that there's a presentation, people want to put me front and center because of my background as a stand-up comic. But being a stand-up comic and being a QVC host are two separate animals.
No.
Two separate animals. I feel like I had to recalibrate my brain and really bring it up a notch in terms of my adaptability. Because when I enter into a new challenge in life, I don't just take it for granted and say, yeah, I can do that. Now it's I really have to understand what the task at hand is if it's a presentation, who I'm talking to, what's the objective. Because the tactics that I use on a day-to-day basis may not work for this specific task.
No.
And so it's helped me, right now, Smart Cups is in a capital raise, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't. The way I speak has to be very, very focused on what the topic is and who I'm talking to, right? And so I will say that there was the glass is half full for that challenge for me because it helped me adjust the way I speak and I present myself, and I have to think of it in terms of
your audience.
The audience, and it becomes a little bit more relative. And so it's made me a stronger presenter, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
No, 100% I get.
But it happens because I get kicked in the balls.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't get kicked in the balls, I still just sit on my merits and my abilities and not really adjusting myself. So I'm grateful that I got kicked in the balls. And Gordon pretty much just says, you come off completely disingenuous. Why? Because I'm out on the screen going, well, look at me, everybody. Well, 3 easy payments. Yeah. I make a fucking ass of myself,
Yeah. Yeah. And I know
you
that
didn't
if
have
I
to
was there,
agree with that so easily, by the way.
Yeah, no, you do.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think it says a lot more than just the QVC bit. You're really good at making an ass of yourself in a lot of different situations.
Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate it. That's Aaron just getting back at me for getting him eliminated.
No, so we had lots of shit. I mean, it's prominent when we're going through the challenge. You guys watched it at home. It was just so chaotic. The girls, overall, you're watching it. Your emotions weren't as intense as we are. They feel like they had a little fluster at the beginning, but they cleaned it up very well by the end. Us, it was chaotic the whole time. When it came to transitions, in our kitchen, they were not seamless. The blender was turned around the wrong way. We had a fucking electric skillet
on the stove.
On the stove. And Gordon ripped me a new one about that. And I was like, Gordon, it's not that big of a deal. The stove's not on. And he's like, but if you're watching it, it looks like you got this cooking, like an electric stove cooking on top of a fire. He goes, it doesn't matter if it looks like it or not. He's like, you can't be that close. Like, someone's going to buy that, set it up, turn it on, and then blow up their whole fucking house. And guess what? They're going to be calling QVC for Aaron Valentine because of that. And I'm like, I can't even argue at that point.
And that's not your fault at the end of the day. That's my fault. That's Tony's fault.
But on the fly, like, you don't think about it.
No, you don't think about it.
You just put the bitch right in front of you and you tell them what it's about. And you don't, because I don't think we used the actual skillet at all. So the whole time we didn't ever like, oh, this is hot, let's set this over here. It was just like, this was our table in front of us.
That's right. Yeah. But let me ask you a question. Do you feel like you got let down by me and Tony?
Not entirely. I was let down in general. I'm not the type of person that's going to be like, oh, it was Tony's fault that I got sent home. It was Chris's fault that I got sent home. When you look at the challenge, it's a team challenge. If we don't work cohesively together, someone has to go home. And I remember exactly after that, and I go into the grilling, you have to throw somebody under the bus. That's just how the grillings work.
It's the name of the game.
Because if you don't throw somebody under the bus, more than likely you're going to go home. I learned that in my first grilling. And so I go in, and I'm like, listen, if I was to send somebody home, obviously wouldn't be myself because I want the fucking money. I was like, and out of the two other people on my team, Chris performed better than Tony. Tony didn't put his earpiece in. And so as much as I want to say Tony let me down, it's a team effort. And you have to take that responsibility as a team. I could have performed better. You could have performed better. Yeah. We all could have. And at the end of the day, it fell down on just who was the most negligent. I said, Tony, I came out of the grilling. I was like, Tony, I fucking threw you under the bus. Me and Tony are great friends, but I was the first person to tell him, you fucked that up for me, Tony. I threw you under the bus. If you would have put in your fucking earpiece, you're such an idiot. Like, why would you do a live bit without an earpiece that connects you to the producer? It's like driving with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck does that?
And
nobody.
And what people don't realize is that Tony gets out of his grilling and he has the same conversation with you.
Yeah.
And he's like, Aaron, I fucking threw you under the bus.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And then both of you guys look at me and are like, who'd you throw under the bus? Because you're the deciding factor. And I was like, both of you guys.
Yeah. So then we go through the grilling, and I'm looking at myself. I know that we lost. And at the end of the day, I truly believe that the fault came down to Tony not having his earpiece in. And I think Tony was just chaotic.
But here you go.
Gordon's like, and the person going home is Tony. And I was like, fuck Chris going another week, motherfucker.
How relieved were you in that moment?
I was like, 1,000,000 pounds of stress was lifted off my shoulder. I'm like, one challenge, I'm going to the finale. My family's going to literally kiss my ass for the rest of my life. Like, I'm changing my whole family history.
Tell me about the emotional roller coaster that you went through in about 30 seconds right there.
Yeah. So he says Tony's going home. And, it sucked because I was really close with Tony. And I love Tony to death. But then.
Yeah, so do I.
And I was like, let's go.
I'm going to text Tony right now. We're talking
shit
on you.
And then 2 seconds later, Gordon goes, but wait. And it was like at that split second, he goes, but wait. I instantly knew that there was no way in fuck that Chris was going home before me, no matter what happened. So I was like, hey, Tony. I was like, dude, there's no way Chris is going home. And then he goes, but there's another person, Aaron. And then he says, like, your energy didn't live up to what I'm used to. And I thought that was bullshit. Like, I had the energy. I just didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And so I go home. He kicks me off. And I was like, out of all the ways that I could have went home, I looked at coming in this challenge, not expecting much out of it. I was, expecting to go home rather early.
You blew everybody's expectations out of the water.
I mean, I made it further than a guy who literally has a fucking app. I made it further than all these people who are, 5 to 10, 15 years older than me. And I was like, there's nothing really to be mad about. I blew my own expectations out of the water with this, and the fact that I'm going home on a double elimination. I was the second person eliminated, so if you want to get technical, I made top 5.
You're top 5!
I made
yeah!
top 5 at like 20. I couldn't even drink the wine to celebrate with everybody at the winery.
Yeah.
I felt really good. I felt super accomplished. Yeah, it sucks. You don't get the money. You got to go back home to fucking Piss Lore, Missouri, but it was the coolest experience I ever had in my life, and I was grateful that I was going home with Tony.
That's cool. I mean, for me, it was a shitty situation because I'm like, fuck, I just got both of my buddies kicked off.
I know.
But, I survived for another week. Now it's me versus Lan, Caroline, and Ashley. And I'm going, shit, I'm not surviving this because they're going to eat me up alive. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, shit, I'm done. I'm going to get caught up in some drama. Caroline's going to chew me up. Ashley's going to chew me up. Lan's going to chew me up. For all I know, they could all, now that they're on good terms and they got a win under their belt cohesively, they're going to chew me up and spit me out. I'm all by myself. Yeah. That's how I see this. And so, yeah, I'm glad that I'm going into another challenge and I survived. But at the same note, I'm kind of pissed off that I got you guys kicked off. People might say like, hey, Chris is a shitty person, or, him and Megan deserve the same funeral plot, burial place. But shit, that kind of sucked. And it's sad to see Tony go home. It's sad to see you go home. And I got to go survive another week against Caroline, Lan, and Ashley.
I think out of all of that came out of it, though, I left there knowing that I had met a shit ton of awesome people that I could, call upon for anything related. Out of everybody there, everybody was, great to me. And I felt like I had earned a lot of new friends with respectable businesses, and I felt like I leveled up my own game being there. And so getting kicked off, man, me and Tony went back to the hotel. We had a grand little evening. Him and I, it was just the bros kicking it. It's like QVC never went home. I was just hanging out with Tony all over again. Like, it was cool. And so, I remember I texted you, like, Chris, I swear to God, if you don't fucking win, I'm going to be pissed. And
yeah. I remember that.
I was like, I'm rooting for you. I want you to win so bad. Get those girls out of there. Get Caroline off the fucking show. Like, do your thing.
Yeah. So there was like all this added stress now. Now, we're going into challenge 9 and fuck, I'm the one guy left. And I'm like,
obviously you're going in, probably feel solo, don't you? You're like, I don't have my bros to like, I don't know, to an extent.
Yeah. And people forget, like, off camera, we're always hanging out with each other.
Right.
So now I got nobody to really hang out with.
Like, when you're waiting on challenges, you have your groups of people that you like talk to. I didn't go talk to Caroline as often as I was like talking to Chris and Tony. And so having those people there too to like sort of talk about the challenge or like prep yourself up, it's like a relief to have that conversation there. Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's a good thing that you guys aren't there, so it's less of a distraction.
You get
and
to
I could be more focused on the lights at the end of the tunnel here.
Yeah.
We're getting here, but I'm legitimately afraid of getting eliminated now. Because that 250 is in my grasp.
Literally.
And now I got Caroline, Lan, and Ashley all standing in my way.
And you're going to Vegas.
And we're going to Vegas. And I hate Vegas.
Oh, shit.
And I have no idea what's coming up, right? And I'm stressed as can be. And, next episode, it's going to be tough. One thing I want to point out, and I watched the episode, not to call you out, but you do tear up a little bit.
I gotta call you out.
I'm gonna call you out. You teared up a little bit.
I did. The lady who asked you questions in those interviews, she was tear jerking me. What does your family think about this? How's your little sister gonna view this? You're getting sent home. How do you think this makes them feel? And to be there in the first place was the coolest thing I ever did. Is all they ever talked about. And then being there, you're away from your family and everything for 2 months. You're in your own world. And then, to finally have to go back home to it, yeah, dude, I was super emotional. But not in like I'm sad, pity me emotion. It was like I don't know. I felt good. It was like a tears of happy joy.
Do you feel like you made your family proud, or do you feel like by getting eliminated, you let them down?
No, I definitely didn't let them down. Just making it there, like, was significant to them. Nobody in my family has ever got to do anything like this. I'm doing stuff way different than any of my family ever knows. Like, my father, he hasn't done a lot. My mother, she has, like, her cleaning business. And so for me, at this young, to get to go stand next to Gordon Ramsay and be recognized as, like, one of those innovative food entrepreneurs, dude, this is, like, some of the coolest shit. They'll get to talk about this for the rest of their life. This will be a highlight in their own life, and they didn't even get to live it. And so for me to be able to do that at only 20, I was like, shit, I set the bar way too fucking high for myself. 'Cause now I got to, like, one up that somehow.
What's the next thing? Yeah, what's the next thing for Aaron Valentine? That's what we got to be focused on.
And, you know, a year later, I'm here, this podcast, and so things come full circle, and I'm not mad about how it worked out for me personally. So
that's cool.
Can't be mad.
No, I think you should be very proud of yourself. I just wanted to bust your balls on the tears that you let loose on the show.
Yeah, I do have emotions.
Yeah, there you go.
I quit taking my depression medicine. No.
Got lost in the shuffle.
We'll catch you guys in Vegas. We'll see you next week.
Aaron's not going to catch you guys in Vegas. I'll catch you guys in Vegas.
Jackass.
We'll just talk about it. But, yeah. Catch the next episode. Holla.